to this point, we've talked about the intervals and interval inversions found within a major scale. So we've talked about major intervals, and that major intervals invert to minor intervals. Minor intervals go back to major intervals. We've talked about how perfect intervals remain perfect. We know that firsts invert to eighths, seconds invert to sevenths, thirds invert to sixths, fourths invert to fifths, and the reverse of that, fifths to fourths, sixths to thirds, seconds or sevenths to seconds, and eighths to firsts. So these intervals involve intervals that are augmented and diminished, and they work exactly the same, and the numbers work exactly the same. So let's go through and let's figure out these intervals, and let's figure out their, oh, hello, their inversions. Surprise. Okay, so here we have B flat to F sharp. So let's count the generic interval, B, C, D, E, F. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So B flat to F sharp, if we count on the piano really carefully, the half steps, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 half steps. So an interval of a fifth with 8 half steps tells us that this is an augmented fifth. So like all interval inversions, the bottom note just comes up an octave, the top one just stays right where it is. Now when you have accidentals, you need to copy them across in interval inversions. So B flat here, B flat here, F sharp here, F sharp here. Just makes everything work so much better. So we know that intervals of a fifth are going to invert to intervals of a fourth, but let's check. So we have F, G, A, B. So 1, 2, 3, 4. That's right. So fourth inverts, or fifth inverts to a fourth. Now let's count the half steps from F sharp up to B flat. So F sharp, that would be 1, 2, 3, 4 half steps. And so an interval of a fourth, generic interval, with 4 half steps, where those intersect, this would be called diminished fourth. So augmented intervals invert to diminished, fourths go to fifths, which that also means that diminished intervals, which we'll find out over here, I bet, are going to invert to augmented intervals. So over here we have A to E flat, so the generic interval, A, B, C, D, E, some sort of fifth. If we count the half steps on the piano, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 half steps. So generic interval of a fifth with 6 half steps does indeed mean that this is a diminished fifth. Big surprise. So we know that the fifth is going to invert, I'll write this with my guess pencil, fifth is going to invert to some sort of fourth. And just like over here, the augmented interval became diminished, I bet that that's going to reverse and the diminished interval is going to become augmented. Let's check. So the A goes up an octave, the E flat comes across, and we copy the accidental. This red pen isn't so sharp. So E flat, so 1, 2, 3, 4, or E flat, F, G, A. So it is some sort of fourth. Then E flat going to A, if we count the half steps, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 half steps, which does indeed mean that this is an augmented fourth. So augmented intervals invert to diminished, and diminished inverts back to augmented, just like before. 4 inverts to, or 5 inverts to 4. 5 inverts to 4. 4 also goes back to 5. Let's do a couple more. So B flat to C sharp, do this quick. B, C, so this is some sort of second. If we count the half steps, this is going to be 3 half steps on the keyboard. And where this would end up, generic interval of a second, 3 half steps, this would mean that this is an augmented second. We don't see this interval very often, but we do see it in the sort of Middle Eastern sounding part of the harmonic minor scale from the 5th to the 6th degree, if you wonder where this occurs naturally. So with my guessing pencil, I'm going to guess that this augmented interval is going to become diminished, and based on the rules that we know, seconds invert to sevenths. So we're going to take the bottom note, it's going to go up an octave, copy the accidentals, C sharp comes across. So C sharp to B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, some sort of seventh. If we count the half steps on the piano, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I think I might have said B, but I meant B flat. So 9 half steps. So indeed, generic interval of a seventh with 9 half steps means that this is what we call a diminished seventh. So these intervals that use augmented and diminished are really no different. You just have to make sure you work out the accidentals right and count the half steps accurately. Last one, C to F, C, D, E, F, 1, 2, 3, 4. Count it out on the piano, half steps, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, sorry, F sharp. 6 half steps, which gives us an augmented fourth. C goes up, F sharp goes across. I'm going to guess that augmented is going to invert to diminished because it always does, and fourth inverts to fifth. If we check it out, F, G, A, B, C, so yes, some kind of fifth. If we count F sharp to C on the piano, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 half steps, and indeed it is a diminished fifth. So these are how intervals, or augmented and diminished intervals, work in inversions.